You're watching HelloNation.
All right, welcome to the HelloNation podcast, your voices of good news. I'm Kevin Hayes, your host, and today joining us is our locally and nationally recognized plumbing and HVAC or HVAC experts, Stephanie Blazek and Adria Jones from the Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors of North Carolina. Welcome to the show, ladies. How are we doing today?
Great. How are you?
Thank you for having us.
I am doing excellent. I'm sure that something that you guys represent is nice and blaring in this studio. Stephanie and Adria, we're glad to have you with us. But before we dive into today's conversation, we'd love to hear a little bit about your role and the work that PHCC of North Carolina does to support professionalism, education, and high standards across the plumbing, heating, and cooling industry.
Awesome. Yeah, my name is Stephanie Blazek. I've been with the association going on 7 years. It's been the joy of my life, one of them. And I explain my role as the chief direction taker. We're a member-led organization that does a lot of different things, from advocacy to education to, building out different things that support your business and its employees. A lot of that comes from our members, and I'm out here finding solutions. Adria?
Yep. I'm Adria Jones. I'm the Director of Education Services for PHCC of North Carolina, and I oversee our apprenticeship program, continuing education, any license and prep courses, code classes, all the things that helps our workforce development. So I help our members and their technicians to gain those skills to continue to build their career and continue to protect and serve our community.
There you go. And again, welcome in. Now, being the voices of good news, we also like to start by asking our guests to share a little bit of their own good news, whether that's something in your community, something in your professional life, the country. Could have been something that you just woke up and it went well this morning. So what do you guys got for us?
Personally, North Carolina has been going through a drought here recently, and we got some rain. My kids and I put in this beautiful garden. We worked really hard on it, and it took off after the rain.
And then for me, I love seeing our industry grow and more students are choosing the industry as their long-term career. So I think that's fascinating to see over my 5 years of being here with PHCC.
There you go. And with that, we'll dive right into it. Today, we're talking about an industry we all rely on, especially as we trudge through these summer months. For some of us, the humidity is basically like stepping outside and swimming to wherever you're going. Plumbing and HVAC. For many homeowners, choosing that right contractor can feel a little bit overwhelming, and they may not know exactly where to start. For qualified contractors, they need reliable education and standards, of course, that they can uphold. Our experts from PHCC bridge that gap so everyone benefits. And let's go ahead and get right into it. First question right off the rip. Why do you think that some homeowners struggle with choosing the right plumbing or HVAC contractors?
Yeah, I'll take this one. We get many calls throughout the day from people that have hired someone just because they Googled or asked someone in the neighborhood, and then they end up with somebody underqualified, without a license, not insured, and then end up with an issue and getting ghosted. So we recommend all of the time, first and foremost, if you're going to Google anything, go to the state licensing board, look up the company, and make sure that they are licensed. That means that they have the required experience, the required education, they're familiar with the laws, and they have a legitimate business and insurance and all of those things. So start there, and then maybe look at things like, Google reviews and recommendations. And obviously, we're going to say contact your local association, talk to PHCC, because those are the only contractors that we deal with, the best people, best practices group. So we're happy to make a recommendation or multiple recommendations of contractors in your area.
I know where I live, there's certainly a number of contractors that I'm not sure if they have big money in relation to the organization and the industry as a whole, but everywhere you look, that's on the billboards, that's on the ads, that's on, the ads that are on the side of an ice rink during a professional hockey game over at the football stadium. What are some misconceptions about maybe those organizations, or just kind of making your way through the noise to make sure whether you've got a big billboard or it's a mom and pop kind of organization that you're still picking that right contractor?
I think that you see a lot of those advertisements out in the community because our contractors and their businesses are invested in those communities. So it's less about advertising a lot of times and more about just supporting their local teams. These people live and work in these communities. So, but I would say the common misconception is the most expensive contractor is going to be the best contractor. That's not always the case. There's plenty of smaller shops, reasonably priced. Again, if you come back to the basics and get multiple quotes, and just remember, when you have somebody come in and look at your system, whether that's your whole house plumbing setup or your HVAC, and you're looking at these quotes, they're not always apples to apples. And so when you say, this person's so high and this person's so low, actually look at the breakdown of the quote, because it might just come down to the type of equipment and system they're putting in your house. So don't be afraid to ask questions, because you're not always being priced on the labor. Sometimes, it's the equipment. It's the difference between, the old reliable Honda and a Ferrari.
No, that's more than fair enough. And, whether it's the equipment, whether it's the labor hours, when you're taking a look and you're really diving into these contractors that are, again, they're going to be in your home. They're going to be where you live, you work, you play. When you're kind of doing that research, what are some of the qualifications, those licenses, maybe even the credentials that are a part of being an organization or part of establishing yourself as those difference makers when you're doing that research that you need to pay attention to in those contractors?
Verify their licensing. Ask the technicians, are they receiving like ongoing training? I think that's always a big one, because continuing education is, you're always a student. Check reviews. That's a great one after you did the verification, and just make sure the company is insured, because you don't want to get stuck and something happens and you're SOL. So companies that invest in education usually invest in quality to assure, their entire business is.
And in terms of, just kind of making sure you're dotting all those I's, you're crossing all those T's, what are some of the other questions that, as you're kind of vetting these contractors, that you want to make sure to ask that maybe not everybody knows to double check that box?
Provide written estimates. Do they provide those? Do they guarantee their work? Would they be actually doing the work, or would they send another person out? Communication is huge in this whole process. I mean, what experience do they have with this type of repairs or things that they're looking to get fixed?
And I know you had mentioned, keeping on top, that education aspect and making sure that those companies are. Is there anything maybe on their website or things that you can look for in reviews or wherever it is to make sure that, you're getting that information, that this is a company, this is a contractor that puts their, guys and gals into a situation where they're consistently staying ahead. So you are getting the best service that you can throughout.
Yeah, I think definitely checking for certifications, anything related to like NATE for HVAC, any like OSHA 1030, all that's very important. They're associated with us, like it's PHCC. We offer that apprenticeship program. So that's something people usually highlight that they're, enrolling their students into, and it's continuing education, just all the things I think to look for those keywords, training, education, somewhere on there is good.
And on top of those, again, when you're comparing, the apples to oranges, what are some of those extra things that you should be looking at when you're taking a look at those, especially the estimates and the second opinions? Because at the end of the day, as a consumer, you're going to spend that cold, hard cash on making sure that your house is heated or cooled, depending on the time of the year. But you certainly want to get the most bang for your buck.
Yeah, I would say, well, there's a number of things. Talk to them about warranties. A lot of companies offer warranties on their equipment, or the manufacturer does. The thing that I think makes a company stand out, though, is not just a warranty on the equipment, but also on the labor itself. Um, and so you want somebody that stands behind the work that they do. And so if something breaks and it was an installation kind of faux pas, they should take responsibility for that. And so look for things like that. A lot of times when you get a quote as well, they'll give you more than one option. And so don't be afraid to ask questions, because sometimes you have those minimum kind of repairs, like this is the thing that'll get you up and running. But for how long? It may be worth exploring like a full repair if that, or a full replacement if the repair is only going to last a year because everything else in the system is starting to kind of degrade. So having those sorts of conversations about longevity. Also, there's some add-on sorts of things. So things like surge protectors, which some may argue you may not need, but it protects your investment. And so it's a little bit more money on the front end, but it could save you tons on the back end. And so having conversations to kind of weigh your options, and again, not being afraid to ask questions, and being comfortable with the person that is doing the repairs. You want to feel confident that they know what they're doing, and they're there to educate you as a consumer, not to just come in and fix the problem.
So we'll get both of you guys' takes on this next one. In your opinion, and again, the experience you guys have with the organization, with the contractors, what is, very simply put, what makes a good plumbing or HVAC contractor or company?
In all things, I think communication makes a good contractor, and also how they're treating their customers, like with respect, and like Stephanie said, educating them, being welcoming, and, don't seem aggravated to answer questions, because as someone that may be a new homeowner, they have these questions and they want to know all the details. So I think communication, treating your customers with respect, and just continuing education to educate themselves.
Yeah, I agree. Communication, and not just when they come to the call, but before they even come. And everyone hates that contractor they have to work with that they're like, oh, we'll be there on Tuesday between 9 and 5. We're not we're not really sure. Um, and we know in this industry, there's limited workforce, and so you go to your first call, and sometimes unexpected things happen, and it messes with your day a little bit. And so communication to the customer about, when you're going to be there and all the way through. And then when you arrive, before you do anything, you're having a conversation about expectations with the customer, because they don't know what to expect, and they should be put at ease. The technician is in your home. Setting expectations, professionalism too, right down to where you park your truck and the cleanliness of your vehicle. The way that you treat your own things is a direct reflection on how you're going to conduct yourself in a consumer's home. So if somebody was to pull up to my house looking a hot mess, they would not be coming inside.
No, that's fair. And, no matter what it is, when it comes to servicing customers in a community, it really boils down to those finer points.
I love the attention to detail.
Yes.
I know, right?
Stephanie, I love that you said that, because I agree. I think it says a lot, not just about the business, but about the technician that's coming in. Like, more than likely, it may not be their vehicle. It could be, but it's the business they work for. Do they care enough to clean it? Like, I think that says a lot in general. I like a good car wash myself, so I think that's
Yeah, and even when it comes to people parking out in front of your house, I've always kind of noticed those, maybe it's depending on what kind of company it is. Like when you have that logo and they're there to do something professional, you can kind of tell when they're going to park in a part of the street that's not going to inconvenience your house or the rest of the community. And then, by the time that they get inside, you're looking at a whole nother checklist of things. In terms of that checklist, what as a customer, should we understand a simple checklist that just about anybody, North Carolina, across the country, when hiring a contractor, what should be those top 5 items that you're looking at in terms of, all right, again, I'm going to make sure that this job is going to get done well. It's not going to put me in the poorhouse. It's going to get done, and I'm going to be comfortable for the rest of the year, 5 years, 10 years.
Yeah. I would say when the technician arrives, they're not familiar with the layout of your house. So show them where things are. Like, hey, I'm not getting good airflow into this room. Communicate your experience with your water. Communicate your experience with your air and heat. You are there to educate the technician as much as they're there to educate you. This is a partnership. Hopefully the company that you choose sets good expectations on time and whatnot, communicates with you throughout the process, because something that may take an hour, maybe they'll find something else and you want them to take their time. And so carve out some time around that appointment to make sure that the technician isn't being rushed, and they can be thorough in their evaluation, because you're going to be real mad if they're rushed and then have to come back out later. And then really set some time aside to go through the options and ask lots of questions. So I think time and attention. These sorts of things for your home. Not only are they a big investment, but if they're not done right, it could cause a lot of damage to your home. So, mold specifically. So not just in plumbing, but also in HVAC. Like if you don't have the right equipment in your house, you're going to have a moisture issue. Yeah. Yeah. Those sorts of things.
And I guess how much of that communication is something that you see brought up in that continuing education, upholding of the standards, something that is taught or kind of maintained through these professional organizations? Is that something that the customers should be really, I don't want to say heavy-handed on, but make sure that they're communicating? Or is that something that the customers should expect from a good contractor, is that early window of communication to make sure that you know exactly what you're getting yourself into?
Yeah, I think like Stephanie said, it's a partnership. So, it should go hand in hand. But I would say definitely from the technician or the company side should already have that instilled into their employees. That's part of, just personal skills in general. So having that as they're talking to their customers, go ahead and initiate that. And I think that will lead to the customer feeling comfortable and like, okay, I can talk to them. Let me show them all the things and be open. Because a lot of people have, a fence
Yeah.
up when you have a stranger coming into your home. So I think that helps a lot too.
A lot of times there's a gap in that education. We concentrate a lot on the technical, and the association, in talking with our members, has realized that there's a gap in some of the soft skills training. So that's something that Adria and the association has worked on developing, is some of those trainings, those communication trainings, those sales and service soft skills sorts of trainings.
And I imagine that's a big, I don't want to know, I don't know if it would be a pitch, or I don't know if it would be something categorized something other way. But in terms of your organization and just the conversations you guys have with contractors, potential contractors who are going to work with your organization, what are some of the reasons for those contractors to get in touch with you guys, or to, continue to use the resources that you guys make available, and again, kind of put the best foot forward for everybody who's going out there to do this work?
So on our side, right from the get-go, if a contractor wants to be part of the association, that's your first green flag, because they're prioritizing things like education. For their whole team, they're prioritizing things like advocacy, which is so important. I don't think people realize the work that our contractors do to make sure the standards are maintained. A lot of times our legislators are uneducated when it comes to contracting, and they should be. They're not contractors. So it's our job as an association and our members to go in and educate, to make sure that our communities are protected. We all share this water. And so it's important that we say, like, hey, we need things like backflow protection. And the general public doesn't know what that is. But basically, if there's contamination, we're not sharing it with the rest of the neighborhood, And so it's because of our industry professionals that our communities are protected in a way that they're totally unaware of. And even, HVAC, you hear horror stories from places that don't have like strict rules in their state. About gas leaks and different things, like whole families being wiped out because the HVAC was not installed properly, or checks weren't done properly. There's so many scary things out there. And so with the education the association is providing and the rules that our licensing boards have, in place, that our consumers are protected, and our industry and the people in our industry have so much pride over that. When you become a member of the association, you believe in those things. And then also we do a little bit of checking on the back end before we allow them in our fun little club, which is making sure they're licensed, making sure they're insured, making sure that they're in good standing with our licensing board, making sure that the reviews and their references say that they're doing business ethically. And if we find out otherwise, they're not part of our group anymore, because we really, part of our mission is to protect our communities.
And then pretty much for the back half of that one, Adria, well, I guess what have you seen in terms of the way that the industry has evolved? And more specifically, why do you think that continued education component that you guys are so critical in, why does that matter, especially to, again, a lot of us that don't understand what goes on behind the scenes and how it affects what's going to be coming into your home?
Absolutely. It's always constantly evolving, because you have new technologies, you have energy efficient things that are coming out, you have refrigerant changes, building codes, safety standards, all require the ongoing, learning so that you make sure you're on top of it. You're not putting the community in harm's way. And continued education helps professionals stay current to so they can provide the safe, high quality service for our community. So education, I want y'all to dream about education in your sleep.
And I guess specifically, what kinds of educational opportunities are available for these contractors that talk with you and get situated in systems where, again, they're going to put their best foot forward. They're going to put in the work to make sure that the work they're doing on the back end is that much better.
Yeah. So, we offer a wide range. So even if you're green to the trades or HVAC and plumbing, we have you starting off with the workforce development, pre-apprentice, apprenticeship, going to, if you just want to focus on your service and repair, we have fast track. We offer the continual education, which covers like your service skills, sales skills for all members in your company. We also do like lunch and learns. It's free for our members, just quick little education from our associates. Lately, we've been heavy about AI things and how that helps businesses when you're searching for a contractor, things like that. Our code classes, we are going through a code update. So staying on top of that, well sealed, make sure you're certified. So many things. When you say it out loud, it's just like, wow, we really offer a lot and stay on top of things. Cause we get feedback from our members like, hey, we would love to have a training on this. That's why we added like OSHA 10 to make it virtual so they can have easier access to it. So we're constantly building things for our members in our community, to stay on top of their training and education.
I love that you actually, and I like that you said the AI, because that's how the world is. But you pick up the phone and you ask Google the question, what is it that you're telling your members? Like, how about, it's such at the forefront right now. What is it that you're telling them?
So it's really like from both ends, from like a consumer side of like Googling, how Google's already using AI and they're going to put, how can a contractor update their website to have these keywords so that they pop up first? And also just on the business side of, how they're operating, what, if they need to save money with calls and,
Yeah, there's so many technologies within the industry that revolve around AI. So, half the companies you call now have these virtual call centers that can get you kind of to the right place. And half the time you don't even know you're talking to AI. It's kind of incredible. But some of these things, the cost of repairs and replacement, a lot of times we've noticed since COVID, I'm sure everybody has, that the price of things have gone up. And so AI has allowed us to maybe control some of those pricing things, mitigate some of the price on things. So we're trying to embrace technology as much as we can. And really, on the back end, it's good for the consumer. I know sometimes it feels a little annoying. And also just for training purposes as well. There's a number of softwares. You have a technician that brings their iPad in. And they take pictures of things and build options for you. But also, like a lot of times, they'll ask your permission as they come into your home, like, "Hey, do you care if I turn the microphone on?" And it'll record the conversation, and at the end, give feedback to the technician to help them have better conversations. Like, "Hey, you kind of drag this conversation on. It seemed like the consumer needed you to get to the point." or vice versa, like maybe provide some additional information on X, Y, and Z. And so we're humans and we're fallible, and that makes us wonderful, but also we're using AI as a tool to do better and learn every day.
So actually, one more. I don't mean to steal from Kevin, but like, how often do you find that your members? I know as a consumer myself, I would be asking a question, and I would be like, "So I Googled it, and it said that we should think about it this way, or this is what happens, or like, is that good? Is that bad? Is all the information right?" I guess that would be one I would think of as a consumer. Should I be trusting Google enough, or should I use that to give the company that's coming in what I think it is? Yeah.
Yeah, I would say the information that you get is only as good as the information that you feed it. And so a lot of times when you're diagnosing things, you don't know what information to give the software to get the right response. So when you're talking about, airflow and voltage and all of these things, the technician knows to check. And so they may use AI to help them diagnose, but they also know what information needs to be checked, how to check it. The consumer doesn't have the knowledge to many times to give AI the information they need to get the correct response.
So get as much detailed information as you can, but go ahead and give it to that professional. Let them kind of bolster that with the AI. And at the end of the day, you're going to be rocking and ready to roll.
Yeah. And talk to the technician like they're AI. Like, give them as much detail about your experience as possible. you know?
There you go. I was going to say, and especially in terms of recording stuff, as a guy who used to work in news, having transcripts of everything that goes on and being able to pull that information from that, night and day between something that's, okay, I kind of know what I'm talking about, to helping become either that subject matter expert or being able to give that information to whether it's the customer or the AI. Again, night and day. One last question in the meat and potatoes of this all. What roles do organizations like PHCC play in continuing to help raise the standard of professionalism across the industry? Everything that we've talked about today.
I mean, I would say that this organization and other associations make sure that we're operating at a high standard. And so the rules are set across the board for everyone, even outside of the association, for the whole industry, based on a standard that's set within the associations and other groups like these who care. And then also, there's a standard of continuing education. So in this state, for instance, in our industry, there's not required continuing education. That's a whole other conversation, wild behavior to not, because our industry is changing so rapidly. But people that participate within associations care about doing the best job that they can and invest in their employees. That's if your employees aren't happy, if they're not being invested in, they're not going to do a good job for your customers. If you don't care about them, they're not going to care about your business. And so people that make the investment into the association, into education, I think that's the standard.
Yeah, and I like to add on to that as far as saying making it simple: safety, community, advocacy, and education. That's something we highly value in other organizations across the nation.
Education, education, education. We love to hear it here. And of course, we've covered a lot about how to choose that right plumbing or HVAC contractor, but now it's time to really put that knowledge to the test. It's time for what we call hello, goodbye. Hello, goodbye is certainly the standard. Hot and cold might seem a little bit more appropriate for the crowd we're talking to today, but I'm going to give you guys a list of statements, and you're going to tell us whether you agree or disagree. Of course, hello means you agree. Goodbye means you disagree. And as you do that, just give us a quick explanation as to why you answered the way you did. Are you guys ready to go?
Let's do it.
All right. Number 1, when working with a contractor, you should always get a detailed written estimate.
Hello.
There you go. All right. Adria clocked in first. Tell us why.
Again, that just comes down to the communication. So you know what all you're getting, what all they're going to provide for you, and everybody's on the same page as they come in and do their work.
There you go. Moving right along. Whether you're a homeowner or a contractor, investing in preventative maintenance is always better than waiting for an emergency.
Hello.
Wildly agreed. It's what's the old saying? It's better to have and not need than need and not have. But Stephanie, go ahead and expand on that hello for us real quick.
We live in North Carolina, and so airflow in your system matters. So if you're not getting it cleaned and regularly maintained, it affects it's like putting crappy gas in a Ferrari. Like it's not gonna run well.
You mean I can't just use the stuff that I put in my lawnmower?
I don't know what you put in your lawnmower.
Best lawnmower ever, let me tell you what. All right, rolling right along. Number 3, if they have a truck and a website, obviously they're qualified.
Goodbye.
All right, we'll hand this one back to Adria. Why would this be a goodbye at all?
Because what's the saying? All that glitter is not gold. They can look fancy, but probably don't have the qualification. They don't have a licensure. They don't have the insurance. So yeah, you can easily slap on a logo and make it beautiful and shiny, but what's your quality of work? How are you treating your customers? What's your end goal with all that?
There you go. I'm sure not everybody that has a Buffalo Bills logo somewhere across Western New York plays for the team. So, the same thing applies. All right, moving on. Number 4, the lowest price should be the deciding factor when choosing a contractor.
Goodbye.
All right, Stephanie, now as a consumer, I like to not spend money, but go ahead and explain this goodbye for us.
People don't sometimes have a clear understanding of why things are so expensive. And so when you have a company or when you call in, you're many times not just talking directly to the person that's going to do the work. You have people that take the call and dispatch. There's insurance that you have to pay for, trucks that need to be maintained, tools that need to be bought and maintained and upkept to do the right job. They're investing in education, so your technicians have the best information, and so there's a lot that goes into the back end. So the cheapest people, not always, but many times, are just not investing in their business in the way that they need to do a good job in your home.
There you go. If you've got a problem that's a $50 fix, you're probably going to have to spend a little bit more than $50 to make sure that the air's flowing. Number 5, for major repairs, replacements, or large projects, getting a second opinion is always a smart decision.
Hello.
There you go. All right, we'll toss this one back to Adria. Hello. Why?
Yeah, I would say even getting, I think a good advice was like getting 3. Go through the checklist that we talked about earlier, compare them, see what's, works best for you and your budget, but also for the quality of work that you're about to receive.
Rolling right along. Number 6, the first company that answers the phone is obviously automatically the best company for the job.
Goodbye.
You know what? We'll go right back. You're the first one to clock in there. Adria, tell us why the first person that picks up the phone isn't the obvious best choice.
Yeah, could be talking to the AI. You never, and again, that just goes back to the one previously, talk to a few, talk to a person, really get the details, and go through your checklist.
If you want a second opinion on your surgeries, your anything important, plumbing and HVAC, certainly one of those. All right, number 7 on this list. Hello, goodbye. Plumbing and HVAC professionals don't need continuing education because you know what? The industry just never changes.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
And this one I'm especially going to head back to Adria on because I was told to make sure that this is what I think about when I go to sleep. Why would this be a goodbye?
Never changes? Are you serious? That's just silly. But no, yes. And, going back to it's consistently changing. So always remember that. Always know and ask that question, how are you guys investing in your continuing education? Are you in any courses, any certifications? Get those details and conversate about that.
Number 8, strong communication, transparency, and professionalism are all just as important as that technical skill.
Hello.
There you go. I feel like it's a strong hello, but Stephanie, take us home on this one. Why is it?
So you need to look at your interaction as one, your interaction with each person at the company as one kind of interaction. So if you call the company and you have bad customer service off the get-go, your dispatchers are not communicating, you can bet that that team internally is not communicating well, which means that the job may go longer, which means that they may not show up on time. There is no department within a company that is more important than the next, and they all need to work as one team. So if you don't have a good interaction at the very beginning, odds are you're not going to have a good interaction by the time the technician gets there and the work is done.
Fair enough. Next one right up the rip. Industry associations, much like yourselves, only benefit contractors, not consumers.
Goodbye.
A strong goodbye. I'll leave it to anyone who wants to take it. Please explain why that is definitely not the case.
Probably for all the reasons we went over today is the association, that's part of our mission. That's the reason we exist, is for the betterment and safety of our communities. So all of the education that we provide, all of the advocacy that we provide, while yes, it's good for our contractors, the end game is to protect our consumers and our communities, the communities that we live in.
There you go. And I think I know what some people are going to say on this one, but we're going to go through it anyway. Education is something that benefits homeowners, contractors, and the entire industry.
Hello.
There you go. And you already know who I'm going to call on. Adria, take us home on this one.
I really think Stephanie said it best in the last question. We're in this together. We're a community together. We value this. We value in the same thing as far as safety and of all. So it's going to benefit the homeowners, the contractors, the industry in total, because we are in this together.
And there we go. You've heard it here first from true experts, Adria and Stephanie. I want to thank you again for joining us and sharing that practical advice that homeowners and contractors can use to make more confident decisions moving forward.
Thank you so much. This is fun. I hope it was educational.
I certainly know I learned a lot, but yeah, again, every time we do this, we learn a little bit of something. We have a little bit of fun. And again, we want to thank you guys for coming on. Thank especially our listeners. I'm Kevin Hayes signing off with Tim in the booth. This has been Stephanie and Adria from the Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors of North Carolina. And this has been another edition of the HelloNation podcast, where good news travels faster. And we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for watching HelloNation.